meeting. We're doing a live from Naples.
Just want to welcome everybody to our Fall 2023 Kickoff Party. Stefan is going to be monitoring my monitor so that we can go through our slides appropriately. But I just want to say how wonderful it is to get everybody back together. It was a long year, filled with storms, a long, hot summer, and all kinds of craziness. But we're back now, and I'm so grateful that everyone's here, and the shop is back, and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready.
All right, so to begin, I want to introduce a few special guests that we have here tonight. Stacy Mack, Luann, and Ryan, if you all could raise your hands over here. Folks, they are from Venture Title. Venture Title has been doing a lot of business with us of late. If you have any title needs, if you have folks, if any of you folks have questions or things like that, they're here. So mix, mingle, chat with them, exchange your business cards, ask questions where appropriate. They're wonderful people, and we're happy to have them here. Guys, thank you for coming today. Much appreciated. In the very back of the room, hard to miss, my friend, Mr. Berne Barton, the NSI Insurance Group. Berne is not only a great insurance agent, he's a great friend. Daughter just got married about 2 months ago up in DC. My wife and I were fortunate enough to consider him and his family. So literally, if anyone in the room has a difficult insurance question, as an example, I have a house that was built in 1964. It's 4 feet below the floodplain. I had 4 feet of water in my house. I got $1 million claim, and the city told me I have to tear the house down. What do I do? That's your guy. But at the end of my remarks, Berne's going to say a few words. We're also going to open it up so Venture Title can make some comments. And of course, we have our yachting partners, Walter and Leanne over here.
Yeah.
Leanne dressed spiritedly in her orange to celebrate the month of October, which she tells me is one of her favorite months, and orange is one of her favorite colors. Those of you who know me know that I love Alabama, and orange, for many reasons, is not one of my favorite colors. But nevertheless, that's the way that it is. Finally, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Brad Allison, who's been gracious enough to play for us on a number of occasions. Great guy and friend, as well as we have some servers from Cafe Milano. I don't know, they're probably doing some work right now. Oh, yeah, come on out. All right, most important person in the room, your bartender, folks. Tip generously, be kind, and thank you so much for your help, Cafe Milano. So, why are we all here today? First of all, we're here to celebrate the success of the brokerage, talk a little bit about what's happening in real estate. We do have some real serious headwinds that I want to talk a little bit about. And I want to talk about some of our outstanding performers for the year. So first, if you kind of look at EVON Brokers as a franchise around the globe, there are roughly 16,000 advisors in 35 countries on 5 different continents. If you were to rank the countries in terms of sales activity, Florida, and I know Florida is not a country but a state, would be number 3. So literally we are generating the 3rd highest amount of activity for the entire company here in the state of Florida. So super proud about that. If you look at Florida as a state and say, how many folks do we have here in Florida? We now have, I think, 53 locations with a little over 1,200 people. So Florida is growing by leaps and bounds. We were one of the first locations here about 15 years ago. If you drill down a little bit further and say, who are the top 100? I'm really happy and proud to say we have 13 of the top 100 in the state here in the room today. So I'd like to call some of those folks out and just mention them by name. We don't have any awards or any special pretty presentations, but Tom Ostrander, Brian Chido, Patrick in the back, Dan and Alberto, gentlemen. Paul Schiller, I don't think is here. Mr. Mike Mass is here. Mike. Allison Kennedy, Mary Catherine Balin, Michael Sapka. Michael is here in the front. Jeff Seiler is here as well. Jeff, if you put your hand up, right. Here you are right in front of me. I apologize. Danny Sinclair, middle of the room. And Nick Bruno, who was here earlier, but I do not see him now. But folks, just a tremendous job for you for the year. I thank you so much, and golf clap for everybody. I'm also really happy to say that the quality of the neighborhoods that we serve has continued to go up. I've had a number of sales this year in Port Royal, Aqua Lane, Park Shore, Morange, Royal Harbor, Old Naples, Barefoot Beach, Sincere, Jess got a good one, Pelican Landing, Pelican Bay, Omega, Sea Glass, and that's just to name a few. So our model of really aiming high has proven to be a successful one, and what we're going to talk about is a pretty difficult market. And just last week, and this goes for Michael and Joanne, maybe you all want to come together for just a minute. In the middle of the floor, we just got, they are super excited. I want to announce a $21 million listing. It is a vacant lot on Vanderbilt. If you're facing La Playa, looking at the Gulf of Mexico, it's the vacant lot right to the right. So my wife at MHK has done some renderings to maybe excite folks. If you have a buyer who may be interested in buying a lot, building a house, great opportunity. All right, and then this is the big kudos to Mr. Doug Meshko and his company. I wanted to give him a shout out. He calls this group the Mariner Group. And I'm going to read because I spent a couple of seconds actually thinking about the right words to say. But the Mariner Group continues to amaze me with the opportunities that they identify and package for developers by assembling groups of sellers, usually condo owners in the same building or landowners who own adjacent parcels of land, into a group that agrees to sell to a developer. Now that's Clark writing a mission statement for Doug. I think we share that mission in terms of what it is, but it's pretty amazing what he's been able to do. And folks, if you've ever just had a regular transaction and you've had a couple on both sides of a deal, you know how hard it is to keep those 4 people aligned to get a deal closed. Now take what Doug does, and let's say his current deal, he has 132 units. And in 132 units, or maybe it's 128, but something like that, let's assume each one is owned by a couple, and let's call it 250, 260 people that he has to corral to agree to sell at a certain point in time for a price. I call it herding cats, maybe insanity. Doug calls it business, and he gets it done. So Doug, Paige, everybody on the Mariner Group team, thank you guys for a wonderful year. They closed the Rosewood, Sarasota, which was a $39 million deal. He's got Pier 550 in Sarasota, which is $66 million. It went hard this week, so that deal is going to close. They've been underwriting a number of Rontos deals, including Naples Square and 1111 Central. But the bottom line is, if you don't know Doug, if you haven't talked to Doug, you're missing out. He is far and away the smartest guy in the room. And I mean that respectfully to Berne, who I think is also very smart, but nevertheless, I have the utmost respect for him. Doug, thank you for all your contributions, for you and your team. Paige, thank you so much. All right, team, so this is where the storm clouds start to roll in a little bit, and we go, ooh, what are we doing? I say that because, in my opinion, our success in this really difficult market is really a compliment to everybody in the room for working as hard as you have. We all know that the inventory in our market is ridiculously low. This morning it was about 3,100 units in Naples. We should be 8,000 to 10,000. So we are far from a healthy, balanced market. We're nowhere near it. We know that sellers aren't selling right now because or potential sellers are not selling because they're effectively rate locked, because they have a 3.25% interest rate, and they're not going to go out and get 7.5 today and get half as much house. This afternoon, my little alert went off on my phone. We hit 8% in 30-year mortgages today. Kind of a big deal, a little bit scary for folks. So, excuse me, that's going to tamp things down a little bit. The third point, and this is not an insignificant one, normally when we shop for insurance, we shop for the best price. And we call Berne, and Berne goes out as a broker, and he calls 5 other carriers, and those carriers ultimately give a price. In this case, we're just lucky to be able to get insurance. And so Berne's going to talk a little bit about that in terms of the challenges in the market and what we can all do to help our clients get insurance. But as if all that was not enough, we have 3 major federal lawsuits that are facing the real estate industry as we speak right now. The trial is actually taking place in Missouri today as we speak. Started a couple of days ago with the jury pool selection, and it's expected to last about 3 weeks. For those of you who don't know anything about it, I'm going to talk a little bit about it so you know and understand what's going on, because it's significant and it's going to affect our business, and it should affect your strategy going forward. So of the 3 cases, and they're all basically the same case, basically what's happened is sellers got together and they said, we think it's ridiculous that half of the commissions that we are paying at the closing table are going to the buyer's agent who is effectively negotiating against us. We don't have a choice in it. It's how the system is set up. We feel that the system is rigged to protect higher commissions, and we think it's a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Agreement. So they started this suit about 2 years ago. The court took a look at it and said, you know what, guys? There's merit. We think this is real. Not only do we think it's real, but we're going to open it up to class action. So class action, by definition, means everyone who sold a house in the last 5 years who thinks that they may have been wronged can raise their hand, sign on to this class action suit, and then I'm making up a number, but let's say $1 billion is recovered and 200,000 people apply for it, you're going to get 1/200,000th of $1 billion. Those are not the numbers, but just as an example. So the bigger the pool gets, the smaller the payout gets to the individual seller, but that's the concept. That's what's happening on it. So you go, well, yeah, but realistically, is that going to happen? Are we actually going to get there? Because for the beginning of time, in terms of real estate brokerages, it has always been that the seller pays the commission, and then the seller's agent divvies it up between them and the buyer's agent. Is that really going to change? And for a number of years, people said, no, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And then Stefan's going to change the slide for me.
Maybe.
So the answer to that question is, oh yeah, it's changing. So many of you might not know the name Anywhere. Anywhere was Realogy. Realogy owns Sotheby's, Century 21, ERA, the Cochran Group, a conglomerate of real estate brokerages. Anywhere got a little bit nervous in this deal when it went to the class action, and they said, hey, you know what? We're not going to yield, but we're going to settle. So front page runs, this is about 3 weeks ago, and it says that they agreed to settle. And you go, What did they agree to settle for? They agreed to settle for half the cash that they had in the bank. So in this case, I think the settlement was 83.5 million, so they must have 170 million. So next slide, please. What happened next? Remax, who was also named in the suit, they settled too. Same formula, half the cash that they have in the bank. Everybody agrees, hey, we're going to have a separate, we're going to change our business practices. And as part of it, what we're going to say is you have to, if you are on the buy side of the deal or representing the buyer, you have to get a buyer's agreement signed, buyer's representation agreement signed, and they have to pay you. You cannot be paid by the seller side anymore. So that's kind of the gist of it. So anywhere, number one, Remax is not number one, Keller Williams is number two. We think they're gonna settle, we're watching, I'm watching the trial, we're going through it, and then all of a sudden, next slide please, the Department of Justice 18 days ago steps in and goes, hey guys, that was really cute. We get it. You're trying to rip the Band-Aid off. You're trying to mitigate the damage because you know how much you're going to lose in this trial. We're not going to let it sell. And for the first time, the Department of Justice steps in and says, we do not approve these settlements. And the settlements were, of course, conditioned upon the DOJ's approval. So then Keller Williams goes, well, we have no incentive to play our card now. We're going to take a step back and we're going to wait. So the trial began. So it began on Monday. They had the initial jury selection, and they've actually started taking testimony in the last 2 days. So nobody knows exactly where it's going to go or what it's going to look like. Next slide, please. What we do know is what I briefly mentioned. We're going to have to get really good at articulating our value to buyers. And that means Doug's got a client that flies in, or Jess has a client that flies in, and they say, hey Jess, by the way, I saw this house in the Moorings, it's $5 million, I want you to represent me on it. You go, that's great, so here's our buyer's rep agreement. Okay, what does that say? Well, it says that you're working with me and only with me, and that you're going to pay me if and when this transaction goes through. Well, but Jess, I thought the seller paid. Well, not anymore. You see, there was this lawsuit. Jess, that doesn't really feel right. Like, I bought a lot of houses in my life, and this doesn't feel good to me. You know what, I love you and all, but is there anything to stop me from calling the listing agent? Folks, that's what's gonna happen if we don't get really, really good at having this conversation and really articulating our value. So over the next couple of weeks, month, as this trial unfolds, I'm gonna be sending out updates on the trial and also maybe some guidance and strategy in terms of what we can do to better have that conversation with our buyers. And I say over the next weeks or month because we don't know exactly what the rules are gonna be. And I'm not sure. So I don't want to give any false hope or say, I think it's going to go this way, I think it's going to go that way. I don't know. But I do know if anywhere settled, or wanted to settle, and Remax wanted to settle, and Keller Williams was about to settle, we're kind of guilty, right? And I'm going to go a step further, and this is me on a soapbox. This is not talking about real estate law or brokerages per se. It's what Clark thinks. And what I think is we all run a danger when we try and be on both sides of the deal. And I know that it's financially beneficial. I know that sometimes you could argue it's perhaps in the best interest of a client, but really you can't serve two masters. And every time you try, bad things happen. During COVID, when we could list something and sell it in 15 minutes before it even made it to the MLS, before we paid for photography, people looked and said, you just sold my $5 million house. And you made, let's say, 3% on the $5 million house. You made $150,000. You didn't do anything. And we said, oh, well, yeah, we did. We spent the last 20 years in real estate. We've got this great book of business. We went to our clients. We talked to them. We had the perfect guy for this particular house. That's why it sold so quickly. And they said, yeah, but we're all guilty of that, right? We were all guilty of the fact that things happened so quickly during that time period, people got angry. And they said, you're making too much money. And they filed lawsuits, and now those lawsuits are coming back to bite us. So what we need to do, and what I'm going to ask everybody in the room to do, is think strategically about how do we get more listings. Because if we have listings, we're going to get paid. If we don't have listings and we're on the buy side of the deal, what's to say that Roger has a client that flies in from Germany, they sign the buyer's agreement, right? That's kind of a common thing in Europe versus here. But what they don't tell Roger is they go across the street and they go to Sotheby's and they sign one with an agent that they like over there too. Maybe they even go over to Regis and they sign one over there. Now all of a sudden there's 3 buyer's agreements out there. Who's right? Who's wins? Who gets paid at the end of the day? There's a lot of questions that have to be answered that I think and hope through this court process will be answered. But as of today, we don't really know the rules. So I just say that because if our slides were working, the next slide would be, if you want more information, go to Inman. Many of you know Inman, I-N-M-A-N. It's an industry-wide publication.com. They are literally following the trial hour by hour, posting updates by the minute, anything substantial happens, it's out there. So, all right, so our slides are back almost. And as I was just saying, so you want to spend your time on listings. That's the number one thing. And do we have one more?
Just 1 second. We lost the connection for a while.
I think the next thing I was going to talk about was up and coming events.
Here it is.
And then I was going to turn it over to Berne and to the venture title groups, which will alternately and say if it works as well. So we have Halloween coming up on October 31st, which I believe is our next event. We are not going to do anything, okay, here we go, here at the shop other than if anybody wants to dress up, pass out candy for the kids, there'll be kids running up and down the street, it'll be fun. Nothing that's required, nothing that is important, but for those of you who have kids who have trick-or-treated on Fifth Avenue, it's kind of fun, and to be a part of that, that's a little bit of a blessing, it's a good time. And then November 16th, one of Doug's clients, Ronto, is going to host us for a brunch for their new project called Rosewood. It's not the Rosewood that Doug did in Sarasota, but it's the Rosewood that used to be the mansion here on the beach. So it's a sit-down, nice presentation, as a little bit of a thank you to us for everything that we sold over there and to learn about their project. So I would encourage everybody here, please go to that if you have the time to do it. I think it's at 9:30 in the morning, but we'll send out an email reminder to let everybody know. Then excuse me, then I guess in closing, I just want to say, I know that there's some bad news there, right? If we look at the insurance rates, if we look at the lawsuits, if we look at our inventory, but I implore upon everybody, focus on what you can control, right? We can't control a lot of those external things, and it's just like life. A good rule of thumb is, what can you do? What can you wake up and do differently each day yourself that you can control? Take control of those things and do those things. Part of that in my mind is looking at your strategy and saying, how do I get more listings? What do I need to do to be in the right room to make that happen? And if I'm gonna have that buyer's conversation for buyer's rep, what does that look like? Let me practice it, let me develop a script, let me feel good about that going forward. So those sorts of things. And then I guess this is my last but not least. Many of you have been reading the newspaper and you know that Prime Social, a new rooftop, super cool bar is gonna go on top of our building. Not only on top of our building, it's going to go across the breezeway, and not only across the breezeway, also on top of Chops. They got their final design review board approval a couple of weeks ago. Again, my wife is the architect, so while I love her, I hate her in this particular thing because it is going to create construction bedlam here in the office. I'm envisioning the breezeway is going to get all ripped up. We're going to be scaffolded around us, and there's literally going to be cranes in the parking lot and workers on our roof. Not sure how all that's going to go. Chris Schuchart, who is our landlord and owner of the building, said it's all going to be great. I heard these great guys from Vegas, they're gonna be super quiet, they'll never even know they're there, blah, blah, blah. I doubt it. So I am lining up backup space for us in the event that we need it. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like, but one is down here on 5th, so first floor on 5th. It's only 1,500 square feet. It's all fitted out. It's not as Scandinavian, European as ours. It's a little bit more traditional office, but it'll work. And then there's 2 more spaces on 41, the front 41 in commercial buildings. So I'll keep you posted. I hope we don't have to do that, but I think the reality is nobody's going to be coming to our window, looking through our door, and climbing under the scaffolding with bricks falling or whatever's going to be happening. So, all right, so that's it for me. I just want to say, everybody, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate everybody being here today. I appreciate all of our special guests that are here. I think Berne is going to take the mic and answer a few questions. And then after they speak, if anybody has any questions, I'll take the mic one more time if you want to hear me. If not, just come tap me on the shoulder. All right.
I'm not going to bore you guys with a bunch of insurance stuff, but I'll give you a quick synopsis of the, I'll use the word challenging, insurance marketplace that we're dealing with here in Florida. Unprecedented rate increases and premiums that we're dealing with. There are multiple reasons, and hopefully you can get a few talking points from this that you can share with clients. And I'll sort of give you a synopsis, and I'll give you my opinion for the best work. So what we're dealing with here from a rate increase is there are multi-factors that have driven this up. I mean, the most obvious is that people jump to it's claims, storms, and that is part of it. There's no doubt about it. I think that the losses in the insurance market to the insurance companies. By the way, keep in mind, I'm anything but an insurance company apologist. I work for my clients, not for the insurance companies. So if it sounds like I'm taking a side of the insurance companies, I am not. But they've lost a lot of money in the claims, and that's what was driving a lot of these carriers out of the state of Florida, which is another factor that's driving the rates up. The less carriers we have here, the less competitive environment we have, which means that the ones that are still here in Florida get to kind of create the premiums and the rates that they're dealing with. And then we talk about the fraudulent lawsuits and the cost of that to the insurance companies. And I'm going to put a caveat on that. It's really not a cost to the insurance companies, because when they lose a lawsuit and have to pay an exorbitant amount of money, they're only paying it briefly. They pay it, and then they turn around and they raise the rates on all of us as consumers, and we end up paying it. So, in fact, to put it in perspective, this is actually Irma, but there was a guy in Florida that had a claim on his roof, and I'll make this real quick, but had a claim on his roof. The insurance company denied it. He took him to court. He won in court, so he ultimately got his $85,000 roof. His attorney got $1.1 million in attorney's fees. So, as you can imagine, the insurance companies were going, okay, that's how you want to do it, that's what I will do it. The problem is that the laws were not written the same way in Florida as they are in most of the other states. And to put it in perspective, we as a state had about 9% of the claims nationwide, so pretty standard, but we had 80% of the lawsuits. So all these attorneys knew that they could be here in Florida and suing the heck out of these insurance companies and getting god-awful amounts of money. So again, what happened was the insurance company said, hey, it's not on us, it's on you as the consumer, and they turned around and we're dealing with these rate increases. So what we're dealing with now is it's almost, no pun intended, it's a perfect storm from the standpoint of what's driving these up. In addition to that, there's this thing called reinsurance, which is actually insurance companies that sell the aggregate to the insurance companies that we use as consumers. Those rates went through the roof as well. So the insurance companies that are selling us the insurance are paying more for the insurance that they're selling us. So again, it's been a nightmare from that. And then we're dealing with, especially here, we're dealing with cost of construction in Southwest Florida. And what's happening in that perspective is you've got insurance companies that are becoming real sticklers about your home is supposed to be covered to 100% replacement cost. Now that's a vague term and it can be massaged, but to a degree. But what we're dealing with is what might have cost $300,000 to build a 1,000 square foot home 5 years ago is now $500,000. So it's $500 a square foot instead of $300 a square foot. So all of a sudden the insurance companies are telling our clients, the insureds, that everything stays the same, so our rates are through the roof, and now you have to pay for more insurance because the cost of insurance is higher. So again, we're getting kicked in the shins from a consumer standpoint. What's going to fix this is a couple of things, and some of it's already been done, and sadly it's not an immediate fix, it's not a quick fix, but it is a fix. Ron DeSantis put in tort reform, and he changed a bunch of laws, specifically how the insurance companies have to pay in reference to these lawsuits. That was one of the biggest ones. And in reference to that, he took out the clause that forced the insurance companies to pay the attorney's fees for the people that were suing. So now they still get obviously attorney's fees, but they're not going to be paid for by the insurance companies. So that in turn created a scenario, hopefully will create a scenario where these insurance companies, the exodus that we lost 30 insurance companies over the last 3 years have left the state of Florida. Either went insolvent or said we're not going to participate in the Florida marketplace anymore because it's too volatile. So hopefully with this tort reform, these, again, it needs to be in place for a little bit. These carriers are going to start coming back in, create a more competitive environment, and in turn drive the rates back down. We'd also like to go through, and we're not quite through this this hurricane season, knock on wood, we're getting close, fairly unscathed. Another one of those next year would be great, and what I'd love to see, and this is the opinion part, I would love to see these changes hopefully will start to bring some type of rate relief in reference to homeowners and flood, frankly, for that matter. Flood's kind of a different animal because it's a federally regulated program that's been running in the red for over a decade. So, mismanaged by the federal government, of course. And now they're starting to catch up and they realize, gee, we can't do that. We need to get more money in here, which is why those flood rates have gone through the roof as well. You know, new construction in Royal Harbor on a canal, flood policy through the NFIP, National Flood Insurance Program, for $250,000 might have been $2,000 5 years ago, and now it's $9,000. So it's painful to deal with. But and again, if you got clients that are lucky enough to not have to get a bank involved, they get to pick and choose. They don't have to have that flood insurance policy. They don't have to have the wind. They can say, hey, give me a homeowner's policy that doesn't include hurricane. So they got some options. Those that they're taking out a loan, they're going to have to follow the rules and regs that the banks are requiring, and that means that they have to have that hurricane aspect to the homeowner's policy, and they have to have that flood policy. But ideally and hopefully we're going to start to see some type of relief, maybe next year, but towards the end of next year, maybe the beginning of the following, we might actually start to see some type of relief in reference to the rates that we're choking down right now. And to put this in perspective also, I've got an older home here in Naples that's been renovated and whatnot, no claims whatsoever. My renewal was in July and it went from $5,300 to $13,100. So when my clients want to strangle me, I'm telling them, I get it. I'm living it right there with you. So it is a nightmare. Now I will tell you that actually is worse than most. We're seeing double rates versus what they were last year. We're 50% increases year over year, but it's painful to say the least. So anyway, hopefully that gives you some insight, maybe some talking points with your clients in reference to the insurance when they start to groan and grumble about the insurance premiums. Hopefully we'll see some relief here, 18 months, maybe 24 months down the road. Yes?
Just a question about assumable flood insurance.
Yes, great question. In most, I don't want to speak in absolute.
How long does it?
I'll repeat your question. Yes. So when you've got, and homeowners is not like this. Flood, they usually allow you to assume a flood policy, which means that the seller of a home might have a significantly better rate because their rates have been grandfathered in. They're still going up, but they're not paying the new rates that are being charged on the new policies. So one of the big selling points when you're talking to a potential buyer, if they're in an area where they have to have flood, talk to that seller and ask them if they have a flood policy, and ask them if it's okay if you can work on getting an answer from their insurance agent as to whether that would be an assumable policy or not. Most likely it is. I don't want to speak in absolutes, but typically they are assumable.
And guys, that's a great point. If we're at a listing appointment and it's a house that's on the water and they have a flood policy, find out if it's assumable, because when we go to market that property, it'll be beneficial. Berne and I have a mutual friend whose name is Andy, who did the reconstruction in our office, and he's trying to buy a place up in Bonita right now. It's on the water, kind of sort of more like marshy area. It flooded. It's only 4 or 5 feet below flood. It was built in maybe 1969. Everything's original. And he called me very excitedly to say, hey, I want to buy this. Can you, help represent me to get this thing done? I'm like, your first call really needs to be a Berne, and you need to see, can you insure it? He's like, well, I don't care. I'm going to pay cash for it. And I'm like, well, what's your ultimate use of the property going to be? And he said, I'm going to Airbnb it. And I said, well, you better be able to get insurance if you're going to Airbnb it. And he said, why? I said, well, it's one thing if you live in it, right? You slip and fall, you're not going to sue yourself. But a tenant slips and fall, or it has a pool, the kid falls into the pool, or the kid falls into the canal in the back, and something tragic happens, you better have insurance. So I think it's a conversation all of us need to move to the front of the line when we're talking about, hey, how many square feet is the house? How many bathrooms does it have? If we know it's on the water, do you have flood, and is it assumable? Make that part of your repertoire when you're doing it. And on the buy side, when we're representing, it's again a very good tool to be able to say, and this house has assumable flood. What does that mean? We need to be able to articulate that.
I've only heard that FEMA is the only assumable bond that you can get on their insurance.
And even those other carriers, private flood carriers, what they're called. It just simply means it's not flowing through the National Flood Insurance Program, so it's not federally regulated. But it's standard insurance companies, but they're companies that will provide flood. And again, typically banks will accept them, but they actually want to see, there's a clause in there in that private flood contract that they want to see that says that the banks it has language that the banks need to see in order to allow that flood policy to take the place of that need, that required need. But with that said, the private flood policy carriers are almost exclusively writing only new construction. I mean, trying to get something on an older home, the NFIP is almost your only shot. I mean, it is your only shot, and you can get it. But the lower that house sits, the older it is and lower it sits, the more that it's going to cost you. The rate will be higher than if it was new construction, right? And so, along those lines with an older home as well, we can get insurance on the older homes, and maybe it won't be overly expensive, but what we need to see are updates to electrical, updates to plumbing, and updates to roof. So if you're dealing with a potential buyer, and they're falling in love with an older home here in Naples, you want to make sure that there are updates that have taken place in reference to that construction.
And basically what that means is you may not be able to insure it at a remotely competitive rate. If your house is, say, 20 years old and your plumbing, electric, and roof are original, it's not going to happen. And people are going to go, well, yeah, but my plumbing's never leaked. Doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to get insurance. And we've actually had occasions where people have had to remove drywall, strip all their plumbing out, and redo it just to get it insured. So again, great point when you're having that conversation with your seller. Hey, when was your plumbing done? And if they, oh yeah, we did it last year. Don't be a fool. Go back on, Google it, look at the permit, and see if the permit was pulled, and make sure it was pulled, it was closed, and everything is right. Because sometimes in our town, especially what's happened during the hurricane in the last year, we all got kind of the get out of jail free card. My house that I put back together, we didn't get a permit, right? We stripped 4 feet of drywall out of it, we put the drywall back, we put the floors back in. It wasn't required. But if I go to Berne tomorrow and say, hey, I need insurance, he's gonna say, hey, Mink, when was the last time you did the plumbing? I'm gonna say, well, Andy, our mutual friend, did it. They say, yeah, was that like 18 years ago? And then he's gonna say, we got a problem. And then all of a sudden, my beautiful house that my wife and I love, that, you know, it's on the water and all the cute little stuff, I can't insure it. That's a problem, right? Mortgage company doesn't like that. Mortgage company says, hey, no, you need to have insurance that way. So all great points, great questions. Berne, thank you for coming in. 450-2907. 450-2907 is Berne's cell.
That's correct.
And
I've got a card on me too if anybody wants one, so feel free to ask me a question after
and
this.
if you've got a stack of cards or something, pass them out. But make him your first call. He's a great guy, he's a friend, and he's really knowledgeable.
Happy to help if I can do
that way.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so now you've heard all the bad news. Let's talk about good news. Let's talk about yachting. Let's talk about Engel and Volkers, and let's talk about why you are such a great listing brand. Because listings are kings, right? If you have listings, you have business. Yachting helps differentiate you at every spectrum across the board. You guys are really fortunate in that you get to spend a lot of time with me here in Naples, and that I am the national North American broker of record for Engel and Volkers Yachting, and I'm here to help you guys differentiate your business and help you win more listings. You guys work in a waterfront environment where even if you're in an off-water home, those people have an interest in being here because it's a waterfront environment. We are here to help you differentiate you against all the competition up and down the street. We're here to help you win more listings. But we're also here to help you earn more money, and earn more money through doing referrals. Because we are the only brand in the world that has a yacht to real estate to yacht referral network. What that means is that anyone in your people in your sphere of interest who has an interest in boating, refer them to us. When we finish the transaction, we will pay you a 25% referral fee. That's 25% off of a 10% commission. We're really fortunate in that all the stuff that's going on in real estate, we don't have to worry about in yachting. Yachting is a 240-year-old industry. Real estate is really a 110-year-old industry. The act in which the lawsuit is based on is 160 years old. So we predate that regulation, and we operate under a global yacht and ship brokerage international law treaty, which prevents us from having compression on our commissions as long as we stay self-regulated. We are one of the few self-regulated businesses in North America, meaning that me and all the 5 associations that run yachting globally protect what we do. We make sure that we operate in the highest level of ethics to prevent us from being a regulated industry like real estate is. We've been able to because we started before real estate, we've been able to learn as real estate grew. And as real estate made mistakes, we've been able to pivot and turn. So it's made yachting this opportunity that really is kind of cool. So we are here to help you guys. You guys help differentiate us. In that Engel & Volker's Yachting gets to push to all the real estate shops in North America. There's 325 shops in North America, 53 which are in Florida. It's pretty exciting. Across the world, there's 1,050 Engel & Volker shops that correlates to the 16,000 advisors that we all push to. So Leanne and I spend a considerable amount of time networking with all the licensed partners across the country as well as Europe, letting them know the unique opportunity, because really Engel & Volkers is truly a listing brand. It is one of those brands that you can tell a brand story that pivots off of your sphere of influence, that gives you a global connection, a global network, and a global brand in which to leverage off of. No one else has that opportunity. I don't care if it's Cole Banker or Douglas Elliman. No one is in 30 countries, and no one has the brand. When Leanne and I travel the world and get to talk to people, one of the coolest things that we get to realize is that there is a segment of DNA that runs through everybody in Engel & Volkers. It's like this, whenever, I don't care what licensed partner, what office we go to, we find this connection where it's like we're instant friends, we're instant people. Which you guys, right, and it's what you guys need to leverage off of. You guys have 325 offices across the country, which you guys can leverage off of for referrals. Take that opportunity. Majority of those people are shipping people here. And that is the tremendous opportunity that Engel & Volkers offers. And then we offer you the opportunity to differentiate yourself when you're doing that listing appointment. Because no one else has the lifestyle brand and yachting which correlates to being in a waterfront environment. So I just want to say, you know, while there's always been this downer and what you're looking at, I mean, the future of residential real estate is going to be much like commercial real estate and commercial real estate listing, right? Where there's a buyer's agent and a selling agent. And if you're a buyer's agent, you're going to have a contract, and that's how you're going to get paid. But here in yachting, we still have the ability to do things right and help pay you guys a referral fee. So remember us, use our content, use what we offer to you to differentiate you in your marketplace so you can be more successful at getting the listings that you deserve.
I'm going to give you guys 2 real-world examples of where that's happened recently here at the shop, ways that you can make money. So, as for example, Mike Metz, who is sitting where Dana is, and I'm not sure if Mike's still in the room or if he had to go, but Mike had a client, sold him, I don't remember the number on the house, but I want to say it was about a $4 million house down in Marco. Client wanted a boat. Mike comes in the morning, he's like, hey, do we really do that? And I'm like, yeah, of course we do. So he goes to Walter, and at the end of the day, the husband of the couple wants a center console and he wants a Boston Whaler. And I forget, was it 39 or 40 feet?
It was a 37-foot Boston Whaler. It was an $800,000 purchase, and Mike got that. He got half. We were 50-50 with the listing agent, so he got 25% of our side. Yeah, so the referral fee worked really well. And that client loves us. One of the things that yachting does, or boats do, when someone's buying a boat, I tell them you're buying a thoroughbred horse. It needs a place to stay, it needs someone to take care of it, it needs attention, it needs exercise. Otherwise you're gonna have a fat, dead horse, right? The same thing with yachts. You need a yacht, you need someone who's gonna manage it, take care of it, who's gonna exercise it, who's going to make sure that it's maintained properly. And so we put all that together for this owner. We set him with a captain, we set him with someone who's going to manage it and make sure that the boat is perfect for him for any time he and his wife show up. So all I do is get raving texts from this guy. Like, I got to spend the best moments with my friends and family on this boat with this captain, and we had the best of days, and here's a picture of a fish we saw. You know, I'm like, cool, that's great. So we're here to help you. We're here, we have great marketing, we have great visuals. We're here to help differentiate you and help you win more listings, because EV is the only brand that has this yacht to real estate to yacht referral network.
So moral of the story, when you guys are on the listing side of it and it's waterfront property, think about it. Oftentimes people buy on the water because they want a boat. That's why they're paying the premium. Oftentimes the boat is there, they're downsizing, they're a little bit later in life, they don't need the boat anymore. And part of the deal becomes, yeah, you can have a listing, but what am I gonna do with that boat? Patrick actually had that exact situation on a listing that he got in the moorings. Went in, we had the opportunity to get the listing, but only if we got rid of the boat. So we got rid of the boat. So keep that in the back of your mind. Other side is obviously what Mike Matz did. Somebody buys a house on the water, they want the boat, and so we've got the boat teed up and we can make it happen. So Walter Land, thank you guys. They're also friends. They're here, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Ryan, if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to say a few words. You, Ryan, or Stacy, yeah?
Yes, good enough here.
All right.
Everybody? I don't even know if I need a microphone. I'm pretty loud, so it's fine. Man, hi, come over here. Don't be shy, guys. Jeez. We'll be short and quick. I'm Stacy Mack. This is Luann Bazone and our owner, Ryan Mari, with Venture Title Services. We're a little bit newer down in the Naples market, but we're not newer in business. We've been around for a while. We're #1 in Ohio, which we're very proud of. And Luann's been doing title in New Jersey for how many years? So 15. So between her and I, we've got 26 years experience. And I came from Cleveland, by the way. So I've been with the company for 13 years. And we're so excited to be down here and build South Florida. And so far, so good. We've got a lot of amazing opportunities for you guys as partners, as clients, and we just want to meet with you one-on-one if we can, to give you guys an opportunity of what we have to be a best partner to you. We help build your business.
A partner means make more money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I said build your business. Okay, I was saying that. I was trying to say that in a good way, but okay, yeah. Money's money, yes. So money-wise, marketing platforms, sponsoring things, CEs, brokers, opens, anything we can do to help, we're there for you. So please, please, please reach out to us. We are so happy to help, and we're there for you. And that's really perfect. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to take up a lot of your time. I know you guys probably want to get ready to like drink and eat, and I get it too. So anyway, so we just wanted to introduce ourselves, put a face to a name, and know that we're around. And please, please, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. Okay? Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.